Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
And Lee.
And no Chris, I'm afraid. He's a little tied up this week, but he sends his best and he'll hopefully be with us next week. Talking of not being with you, sorry we didn't do one last week, but had database problems and I couldn't actually upload a show, so we couldn't record anything.
Boo.
It's all fixed now. It was a temporary glitch. It was my fault. I tried to upgrade something and it didn't go as well as planned.
Uh-huh.
But the wonderful people at Cloud Above have got us through it, and if you ever need web hosting, make them first on your list, because, well, they're ace. What more can I say? We've put their logos on our sim racing cars.
They have kept us here since... Did we start hosting with Cloud Above?
Yeah, we've always been hosted by them since 2014, when we started the forum, even before the podcast.
Wow! And then
Does that still exist?
No, I've wiped it all.
But we started the podcast in 15.
Yep, 8 years.
Wild.
I don't know.
That seems so weird that we're. I mean, obviously because this is how numbers work, but we're closer, so much closer to 10 than we are like 5. It doesn't seem. It seems weird, doesn't it? How close we are to being around for 10 years doing this.
Oh, 8 years worth of Mondays.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's bizarre. So as it's Monday and all the news is happening tomorrow, we'll do what we know from this weekend.
Yeah.
Right, Australia then.
Yeah.
That was a weekend.
Busy, wasn't it?
I made a joke after watching the F3 qualifying on Friday with the amount of red flags that came out, that there's a chance that it could be a complete shit show. I don't think I was wrong.
Right. Hear me out. I don't think it was a shit show. Because when you think about it, the FIA followed the rules of what the FIA have said they were going to do.
Oh, I don't mean a rule-based shit show.
Do you mean more a clusterfuck?
Yeah, more a clusterfuck than a shit show then.
Even so, I think there's questions on whether maybe there's questions on whether a safety car, a red flag was needed, especially in the Albon case. I think that one's gone missing a little bit, because there didn't seem to be any huge damage to the barrier or anything like that. It was all turned around quite quickly.
I think officially they said it was gravel, wasn't it? Which,
yeah,
if you get everyone bunched up behind the safety car, should be all right.
But the thing is, I suppose it's unnecessary risk, and we live in such a litigious world now that if you can minimize the risk to marshals, most of which come and give their time for free, then it's probably a good idea. Also, it's horrible. I hate safety car procedures when you just watching laps tick down. You think,
yeah,
could be racing here. So I'm all down for dropping red flags, and even the when you look at last year the year before, when they messed up the season finale. We were saying back then, they should have just immediately dropped a red flag and restarted the race. And they've kind of done that now, and people still aren't happy.
I think the person that was most happy about the red flag coming out was probably Pierre Gasly, so they could get the vacuum cleaner into his cockpit.
Yes.
And then he got showered, didn't he?
I don't think he was so amused by the next one.
No.
Was it the next one or the one after?
No, it was the one after, because there were actually 4 in total, even though one was after the checkered flag.
Yes.
Because I don't know if anyone noticed, but when Hulk broke down on the track, they brought the red flags out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the FIA followed the rules, followed the guidance.
I think the issue is more that the rules are not always the easiest to follow as a spectator, are they? They can be a bit sort of cumbersome, and you have this delay where, it feels like they don't quite know what they're doing. I think it's sometimes
that's from the problem.
It's from the viewer point of view, isn't it? You're like, oh, hang on, how do we know what's meant to be happening if they don't?
And then I don't think the teams help either, because you will then get teams trying their very best to twist the understanding of the rule to benefit their team.
Case in point, Haas,
Yes.
after the checkered flag, appealing or protesting.
Yeah, but that was clearly nonsense. They knew that was nonsense when they were trying to do it. When what they were trying to pull, they knew was nonsense. It was just like trying to throw something at the wall to see if something would work,
which it didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that didn't get followed was drivers following racing lines. We can definitely say that.
Yeah.
They had different racing lines.
Some of them were on concrete.
I must say that one thing, if they were, if you take F1 Twitter out of the equation, the people I've spoke to, because I people I work with and stuff like that, because I'm so into Formula One. Mondays at work is the first thing in the morning is like the race podcast is listened to, then the BBC podcast is listened to,
and then you rip them off on a Monday night.
Pretty much. But then regardless of interest of people around me, that's what happens Monday mornings at work. So because of that, the people that work with me regularly started watching the race so they don't feel so stupid on Monday morning. So the casual Formula One fans I spoke to today really enjoyed that. So if the idea is action, then the people that don't normally watch Formula One races were impressed by it. To which I said, you should probably watch Baku next week, because Baku's always mental.
I get a lot of that at work as well, in that, I always know when it's been a lively race because the non-F1 fans come to talk to me about F1, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? But yeah, I had a few of them today.
I'm not at work at the minute, so I just have F1 Twitter. Actually, I don't. I've got everyone on Discord they're the sensible F1 fans.
Yeah, that's
on our
We
Discord.
like them, sensible fans.
It's I made the mistake sometimes of engaging with people just because not because I'm trying to.
Fairly sure the same's been said about you.
Yeah, but like there was a video, and all I did was ask. I really don't see the issue with this. Somebody put a video up of Sebastian Vettel, and they were like, "Oh, look what happened. He should still be in the car this year. Like, look what a handful this car was." And I again, the guy had Seb in his name. It was a picture of Sebastian Vettel. I probably shouldn't have said, I don't really see what's wrong here. It just looks like a slow lap. The car seems balanced. It just seems slow. And I was immediately fucking dunked on by like the most simpiest of fans you've ever seen. I mean, I've seen this level of fandom from Team LH before, but rarely the Sebastian Vettel side has been so vicious.
You would think as well, if they're real fans, they would respect his desire to want to not be in the car.
Yeah, you would do, really. But the internet's a strange place.
Not getting any arguments from me. You know, I work on it. I know how strange it is.
It's your fault.
Blame Dan, he puts the kittens there. We think. Right, I mean, other talking points that came from it. Not necessarily sort of team related. Apparently Red Bull had some new aero on the car this week.
That
I think Ted was pointing it out on Friday in practice that they were running new front wings. So that might have only been an 8-second gap that he got rather than the 10-second one until Max ran wide. Yeah, it's unusual for teams to bring new parts to Australia.
Yeah. I suppose it would normally be unusual because it would be like the first or second race of the season.
Yeah,
I suppose by this
usually bring
point,
a whole new car.
yeah.
But it's unusual for teams to bring new parts before Spain.
Yeah. I know Mercedes had a small upgrade as well, didn't they?
Not
I
not
know
the full big
George
spec.
Russell. Yeah, George Russell talked it down, didn't they? So, it's barely even an upgrade what's been put on the car. He thought, well, it seemed to go a lot better. And Formula One teams rarely do things for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I think they said AlphaTauri as well had some kind of upgrade because they talked about Sonoda damaging, I think it was a floor. So he ended up having to go back to a previous spec.
Jesus Christ! Right now, anything you do to that car, like even if you draw a smiley face on it, would be considered an upgrade.
Actually, there's one thing that showed that Red Bull were running a new front wing on the grid when you pointed out, Sean, they'd stuck everyone round the back of the car.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
And of course, that time Scarbs told us that there was something new on the front of the car, and everyone stood round the back. So all the photographers were trying to get in between people's legs to see what it was, when the fact there was a whole new front assembly.
I really enjoyed during one of the red flags, Toto doing about 3 or 4 casual but not casual walk pasts of the back of one of the Red Bulls. Like he was kind of like looking up its skirt. He did just like a couple too many passes.
I often wonder, how efficient the sneaking on the teams is. Like when you and don't get me wrong, obviously all these people know infinitely more about this sport than I do. But you think to yourself, like, if you're not like the top aero guy that happens to work for Mercedes, or like one of the like a really good engineer, what the fuck's Toto Wolff bringing back to the team? Like there's this really weird jutty out bit at the bottom. It's connected to the floor. If you could copy that, that'd be great.
Maybe he like talks to a police sketch artist afterwards, and they sort of put together from the best of his recollection what it looks like.
I mean, I've often thought that with drivers, the drivers that stuff like underneath cars and stuff. You go, are you just doing this to look cool?
Yeah.
I'm convinced that's all it is. They walk back into the garage, and go, yep, it's got a flaw.
I reckon there's maybe about 2 of them that know what they're looking at, and the rest just copy so that they look like they're part of it.
I was going to say Vettel was a constant examiner, but I think he's in the category of
he tinkers, doesn't he? He does like mopeds and sort of like ye olde scooters and stuff. So he might at least be able to say this bit's changed, that bit's changed.
I don't think Fernando would be too fucking daft either when it came to it.
No, he'd just try and rip it off and then claim it was somebody else's fault and he wasn't responsible and he wasn't there at the time.
Just looking for the USB stick.
Yeah, he left it at Speedy Copying working. Yeah, I mean that's one thing not to do if you've got details of somebody else's car. Get them copied within 5 miles of your base.
It was because it was in walking distance.
Oh, Christ. I am definitely owed one now. Right. Should we go team by team?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so, sorry, quickly, before we do the team, we should address, did you guys see the Ted Kravitz have his like mini meltdown on the notebook?
Was this the Michael Massey one?
Yeah. It was really weird.
I heard about it, but
yeah, he sort of said, "Oh, Michael Massey's back," and then he sort of started stuttering, like he wanted to say something but didn't want to say it, and he said, "I just don't know what he's doing back in the Formula One paddock." It was like literally like he'd just seen, but it was like he'd seen. Like I can't think now.
Nelson Piquet Jr.
No, but anything. Jimmy Savile going to do his new job as like a child carer. That's the look he had on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Michael Massey was in the paddock was probably because he now is sporting director of Supercars, which were one of the support series this weekend.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is rumours apparently that the FIA want him back in some sort of capacity. Like as like on an advisory role. I don't know. He didn't shower himself with glory, but surely that, to be honest, I would have thought after such a clanger was dropped, I feel it shows like the measure of the man to actually go back, because in that situation it would definitely be easier to go Formula One paddock, never again, mate.
Mm-hmm. But no, he was there in an official capacity with Supercars, who were doing the most Australian things ever. Instead of waiting till the end to throw shrimp on the Barbie, they lit the Barbie under the bonnet by the amount of fire that was going on this weekend. For all the Fords were worried that they weren't even going to make the full race distance without bursting into flames.
Was there something wrong with the new cars or something?
It was a Ford problem apparently, because they're on the new generation supercars this season, and there was just lots and lots of fire. I've got to admit,
did any of the cars were they just holding on?
No, I think a couple of them let go, didn't they?
Oh, come on, that deserved something.
Oh, Holden,
Right.
I'm definitely owed two now. Right then, start at the back, which I think technically is Williams. Albon in 16th and Albon DNF, Sargent 16th and DNF'd by trying to take out De Vries.
When they're not trying, he very successfully took out De Vries.
It was looking like a great weekend for Albon up to that point.
Yeah, really, really strong qualifying. Kind of had said straight after qualifying that he assumed he was going to get swallowed up and would be going backwards, but actually had picked up a couple of places and I think was running 5th or 6th.
Yeah. And then the back end of the car just let go and chaos ensued, and gravel.
Mm.
The Williams, definitely the second most improved car on the grid this season.
Absolutely. Apparently that the section he crashed at, he'd been on the limit at just every lap of every practice as well, and that particular section, the Williams was the quickest of any car through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he was constantly setting purple sectors in sector 2 during qualifying, which surprised the hell out of me.
Genuinely, I mean, it's a shame he finished this weekend like he did, because after that qualifying session, I turned around to my dad and I was like, I don't know where it would be, but if top teams aren't looking at him again now, there's something wrong with the world.
I think so. He's definitely got the quality for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks like Williams could be in danger on certain circuits, because this isn't going to be an every week thing, but on certain circuits, giving him a car that is actually worthy of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can see Williams struggling in Baku, but we'll talk about that in a few weeks, because we've got 3 F1-less weekends.
Is it 3 weeks till the next race? I thought it was 2.
No, it was meant to be China in 2, but because it got cancelled for China reasons, skipping straight on to Baku.
Yep, the next race isn't for another 27 days.
That's a shame.
Gonna have to find something else
To find a hobby.
Yeah.
Is that's new McLaren time, isn't it? That Abu Dhabi.
Baku.
Yeah, new McLaren Abu Dhabi isn't going to help anybody.
It's new McLaren in Baku.
Yes, I think that is what they're...
Or as I tweeted at the weekend, the B-spec excuses, because the ones that they're currently using aren't really up to scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Sargent on the other side of the Williams garage, unlucky weekend, really, because I mean he didn't get out in FP2 at all with electrical issues. Had a bit of a breakdown during FP1, and he was okay in qualifying, but said himself he could have gone quicker.
Yeah, I think he had a spin, didn't he?
Yeah.
Something helped him.
There was like a gulf between him and Albon though in qualifying. And I know he might maybe had he raced there before. I think this was his first race weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, because
F2 is an excuse there.
F2 and F3 had never raced there before this weekend.
I think he might just have a problem that he's like his teammate is an on-form driver that's really got something to prove.
Yeah, it possibly is making him look worse than he necessarily is. He's had a bit of bad luck, and ideally needs to stop driving into the back of AlphaTauris. I think compared to the Sainz and Alonso incident, I think he did quite well to not get a penalty.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, he's the rookie. He's in the. It's Williams are doing the same thing all over again. They've got the really good world class young driver, and somebody who's got to prove himself against them.
Yeah.
Any teammate of George Russell's was on a hide into nowhere.
Mm. And I think that's the thing as well, because the Albon's quite a young driver as well. Maybe that looks worse too. For instance, like Zhou seems to be fairly on top of Valtteri Bottas.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were first teammates, nobody really expected Zhou to come at Bottas. And so he's had this like slow incremental creep up to being on the same pace as him. Now I think outpacing him. Whereas when you've got two drivers of the same age, it's like Piastri and Norris. Piastri will have a grace period, but you still expect drivers of a similar age, even though one has like a little bit more experience than the other, you want them on the same page pretty quickly, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to get the new guy up to, for want of a better description, the old guy's pace.
Yeah.
Within half a season.
Yeah. I think that half a season is probably like realistically what you'd want. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, in the case of Latifi, it definitely didn't work. But
no, that was a failed experiment.
Yeah, I don't think Sargent is a Latifi.
No, I don't.
No, I think he's more of a Zhou.
Yeah, just needs a little bit of time to get used to it.
Yeah. Right, this one's going to take a bit, just for one major incident. Alpine next. Oh, why is it Alpines manage to find each other constantly?
No, I think it's Ocon's. Ocon seems particularly good at finding his teammate.
Is it the BWT sponsorship? Any car that gets put in BWT pink, you've got to take your teammate out.
Possible.
Do you think it's because it's all you can see on the track?
Yeah. Oh, pink, drive into it.
How do they do it?
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, to be fair, this was not Ocon's fault. This was Gasly's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Gasly was lucky to escape a penalty as well.
Yeah.
If we're talking about escaping penalties, and of course, if Gasly had got one, he would have got a race ban.
Yes, because Ocon went and did his media interviews, and without being sort of shitty to his teammate, had very much been like, oh, Pierre came across at me, I don't think he saw me. Very much sort of in the media seemed to be laying the blame on Gasly. You kind of got the feeling maybe then someone went, he's on 10 points, say it was both of you, before they went into the stewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they did the media interviews before that it was announced that they were being called in to see the headmaster.
I think you get quite a long delay before you go into the stewards anyway, so I think you have time to go and do your bit in the pen and then go and see the stewards.
But yeah, I mean, Alpine were odd from the start because they were running a split strategy, and I always think running split strategies means they're not sure what to do, and one of these is going to work, but we don't know which one, because it's very rare that a split strategy works both ways. Gasly ended up looking into being rescued from starting on the soft tyres by the red flag when they changed them, because they didn't bring him in on the initial safety car, and thought, he's gonna struggle with this now. He's the only runner on softs, and he's stuck behind traffic and not really gaining anything. And I thought he was going to end up well down, but the red flag came out for him at the right time. Didn't make the most of it in the end. But I mean, they were both looking good for points. They are, pushing for that sort of fourth best team. Depending on how Ferrari and Mercedes are, there's potential for Alpine to be third.
Yeah.
And you're taking
on a shenanigansy weekend with a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this one was, but they were in the shenanigans.
I think they're still. I still think Alpine will feel pretty disappointed with the job they've done. Because they've dropped. It feels looking at them like they've dropped back from where they were last year.
But if they don't crash into each other, they finish where the Aston Martins finished.
This weekend.
Pretty much.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, after the
Yeah.
after the shenanigans restart. Yeah, that's right. But I was just meaning just in general on pure pace.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they've. I think that they're one of the disappointments of the year for me. I think.
No, it's hard. It's hard for me to say disappointing because
Haven't seen the best from them yet.
Yeah,
I think
we're not-
they haven't had the clean race weekend.
we've not seen what they're actually capable of without either something happening or them happening too.
But that's the thing, isn't it? That's what you get from a Gasly-Ocon partnership.
Yeah.
It's like hiring two Charles Leclercs and then being confused that all you get is bad luck.
Well, he's certainly had enough of it this week. Did he manage a corner? Was it?
No. No, I'm pretty certain he crashed out turn 1, lap 1.
I mean,
I
he
thought-
didn't even turn in.
I thought F1 Twitter on the Ferrari stakes was fucking glorious.
I mean, what the hell?
Are we doing Ferrari next?
We might as well, because I mean, I don't think there's much more we can say about Alpine. Looked like they were doing okay.
They crashed.
Screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Leclerc.
Yes.
Got off the line, got offline, went off
Tried
the track.
to blame Stroll.
Yeah. I know we like to blame Stroll every now and then, but I think genuinely, not a great deal Stroll could have done, really, in that one. I think it
Nope.
was a case of he was there, Leclerc tries to shove himself in where there wasn't a gap, and off he goes.
I mean, the saying is, to quote Ayrton Senna, if you no longer go for a gap, are you still a racing driver? When he admitted afterwards he'd been lying when he spoke that phrase.
Also, there's a little bit of sense, just sort of common sense, particularly lap 1, turn 1, that maybe you just kind of want to make sure there is room.
He's not a great one to throw it at either, Stroll, is he? No, he's not. He's not known for his spatial awareness. This wasn't his fault.
Yeah, mirrors optional.
Yeah, rookie mistake.
From not a rookie, then.
Yeah. Or F1 open lobby 3:00 in the morning on a Friday after the pubs and clubs have shut mistake.
Yeah. You see, there was something really interesting said about Charles Leclerc on the F1 TV coverage. I think it was Coulthard that said it. Where Coulthard said he's quick, but he's not the finished article. And I couldn't help think to myself, well, when's Charles Leclerc going to be the finished article? Because
This is year 6 for him, I think.
yeah, and it's strange as well because he still feels like a new driver in some respects. It doesn't feel like a massive amount of time ago it was his first season with Ferrari, and he pretty much put Vettel in his place. But I don't know. He doesn't. He doesn't seem to have grown as a driver for me. But I've still, mind you, I've still got the same opinion of him as I've always had. I've always had this sort of. I don't think he'll be a world champion because I think there will always be somebody else better around.
I mean, I suppose it is very easy to be the second or third best around and just get completely outshone.
Well, the thing is as well, I was thinking about Ferrari when I thought that too. Is Charles Leclerc and if we were to look back on this phase of Ferrari, but in maybe 10, 15, 20 years' time.
Oh, God, I'm not doing these shows when I'm 70.
Is this era of Ferrari this generation's Berger or Lacey Ferrari?
Oh, God, no, because, I mean, they've had more than one win throughout the whole thing.
Oh, right.
They're not...
We'll give them wins because, like, Lacey and Berger probably deserved a couple more wins apiece.
I mean, Lacey got one.
Yeah. And Berger won a race, did he? Did he not?
I thought Berger.
I think Berger won about 3.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think they probably deserved like a couple more wins each than they actually had. But ultimately, it's a team with two good drivers, no number one, that aren't going to win world championships. That's my son's fault because he keeps calling it a world champion instead of championship.
No, I think you might be onto something there. I wouldn't say it was quite as bad as the Berger and Lacey era, because we're not seeing them on the back of the grid as often on lack of pace.
That's fair, but we are seeing them when we do what they lack in what they've made up in car performance. They lack in day-to-day fucking common sense.
Yeah, there is just a massive
Too much swearing today. Sorry about that. I try and keep swearing down on Formula One podcasts.
Do you?
Like fuck.
I have. I've done a proper like PG era Lee for like so far this season. No C-bombs.
Well, that's an improvement, technically. But yeah, I mean, Ferrari. I mean, joking aside about them Ferrarying it up, there's still something that's it's not working.
Mm.
Whether that's the pushing people too hard, to the point where they're making mistakes because the self-fulfilling prophecy thing, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up, oh, screwed up. Yeah. Instead of saying, get it better, get it better, get it better, don't get it wrong. Oh, I got it wrong, I was expecting to. And I think that, that's the Ferrari ethos, the Ferrari way.
I think you're right. I think there was something, it might have been Pete Windsor, said on one of his YouTube videos that when Ferrari were good, it's in the Brawn Schumacher era, you had like Brawn, Jean Todt, and who was the third guy?
Rory Byrne.
Yeah, that were all doing like definite jobs. They all had their role to play in the success and that, and on top of that, you had a driver like Michael Schumacher in there that they could rely on to do his job and probably help tell them how to do their jobs. Ferrari doesn't have that now, and it seems to be that they've just gone from one head to the next head to the next head. That if that was the way Ferrari was structured in the past, they've been trying to replace 3 people with one now since that era.
Yeah. Oh, Domenicali can't do it. Oh, we'll get Arriva Bene in. Oh, he can't do it. Mm-hmm. Next. Ferrari, dead man's boots.
Yeah, they're running a Formula One team like a bad football team.
Mm.
Isn't that what Arriva Bene does now, incidentally? Isn't he at Juventus?
Yeah, he's chief exec of Juventus, who are in massive financial bother this season.
Uh-huh.
Whoops.
Moving on.
I bet he looks cool as fuck on the side.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you can still smoke in Italian stadiums.
Seems reasonable.
I think the entire league had a vote, but Juventus has got a veto. This sounds right. Sticking to the Italian-ish side of things, AlphaTauri. Tsunoda broke his run of 11th places
because of a penalty. He legitimately crossed the line 11th.
Yes. He's in danger of becoming the new Gutierrez because that was going to be his 4th consecutive 11th place.
Let's give him the due here because that car is an absolute heap.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised as well that he has been ahead of Nick De Vries for most of the season. I thought it would be very much the other way, so no, fair play to him.
I think De Vries' problem is he's struggling to drive a bad car. If you think where he's come from, he was at McLaren when they were winning races back in the Jensen and Lewis days.
Mm-hmm.
He's been at Mercedes for years when they were winning everything. He gets into a Mercedes Formula E car, takes the title, and now he's been given a Ford Cortina Mark 1. Sorry, Flood.
But he did get points when he filled in for Albon last year in a car that we're thinking Albon was only getting points in because Albon is insanely good. Latifi looked very not good in that car,
Yeah.
and yet De Vries seemed to crack on fairly swiftly.
So-
Very little notice.
So, does it turn out that last year's Williams is better than this year's AlphaTauri?
There's every chance, or certainly
Maybe.
easier to drive.
I think, and I might be proved wrong here. I think he might end up because he's been so unspectacular so far this year, and I'm amazed. Yuki Tsunoda's still in Formula One. You know, when you consider his last season, you know he was surprised when he got re-signed. Do you think there's a chance that the stars aligned, that Williams on that day was a decent car? Latifi, even when given a decent car, still found the back of the grid, and
Still needed a
De Vries
bloody
just
map.
yeah, but De Vries just got like a good first result. Like, yeah, we've seen it a few times actually. You know, when people come in and do their first races or a stand-in, Kevin Magnussen, for instance, podium in his first race. Stoffel Van Dorn got points, didn't he, when he stood in for electrocuted Fernando Alonso?
Vettel, when he came in for broken leg Kubica.
Yeah. Vettel maybe slightly different because, you know, he turned out to be pretty good, didn't he?
Well, yeah.
But
We didn't know how
No,
good when
we
it was
had
in
no
that
data on him at that point.
yeah, I feel maybe we got carried away with Nick De Vries, you know, because he had the pedigree of being Formula E world champion.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he was, you know, he didn't get a go in a Formula One car, not because he didn't have the pace. It was just because at that time there was just nowhere to put him, and he had to go to Formula E. And then he did that in his first race. It was like, oh my God, right? He's found his place. Somebody get him in a car, and maybe he shouldn't have been in Formula One in the first place.
I don't know. It's hard to say because the AlphaTauri is an absolute dog.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think 3 races in might be too soon to write him off. But yeah, I was expecting
I might be
more.
proved wrong. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean we were all expecting more, but we were all expecting more from the car.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know,
Not much more. More.
you know, the threatening points a bit more.
Yeah.
Point.
You would think if you were coming into AlphaTauri, that you're at least going to be it's solidly in contention for points without the world collapsing around you to make it possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, what do they need to do?
Well, get on with it for starters, because Red Bull have got 5 drivers in F2. So if they both have a bad year,
I think this is the end for AlphaTauri.
It has been rumoured that they're looking at renaming it again, isn't it? That they don't like the AlphaTauri brand on that car.
Well, that's going to be worth an extra couple of tenths.
No, but I mean, like, there's been rumours that Red Bull want to cut loose having 2 teams to save some money.
I mean, they what was it? They officially denied that the team's up for sale, or they're making them move to the UK.
Yeah.
So nailed on, one of those is going to happen.
Yes, it's being sold to the UK.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder whether I wonder if they've been given an ultimatum. You know, or no, sorry, not an ultimatum, just more of a, right, well, Bill, like, you're having less input from the Red Bull side. Do it yourself. If you don't do it yourself, we're gonna really start thinking here.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, you know, it would be logical if they're under pressure. I mean, that, you know, the story about them being either sold off or moved was in Automotor und Sport, who we trust. And Red Bull as an organisation were very, very quick to deny that was even being contemplated, let alone discussed.
Which, of course, means it's happening. That's the
Yeah.
rule.
And maybe Red Bull have backed away from them a little more this season, just to show potential buyers what the team can do, which could be an absolutely fucking massive mistake. Yeah, I mean, you know, maybe they're going to be the next Ford factory team now that Ford are coming back into F1 as the Red Bull engine supplier. And maybe they'll be, I don't know, Ford's factory mule or something.
Maybe. I think because they're coming in with the partnership with Red Bull, will they need that? Because they're going to be in the back of a Toro Rosso. Well, no, sorry, we're talking about that's why I'm getting confused. Sorry. The
You getting them confused with Alfa Romeo?
yeah,
We're doing them next.
Yeah, I was getting I was getting my fucking Red Bull cars all mixed up as well. It could do, it's if they want. It's what's worked with Honda, actually, hasn't it? The reason the Honda engine came around is because all of a sudden they had 4 cars to put the engines in, and 2 of those cars, they didn't care if they blew it, burst into flames or not.
Yeah, so I mean, if Ford take over AlphaTauri from Red Bull, then, they've got the factory team and they've got Red Bull as their partner team.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
It's just how Mercedes and McLaren were when Mercedes first came in as a constructor.
I think the worrying thing there is, though, they've done such a bad job at designing the car, and especially when you've got what's his name? What's the team principal's name?
No, French Toast.
Franz
Yeah.
Toast.
When you've got him coming out and saying he doesn't trust the engineering department anymore.
I missed that.
I mean, I missed that one, but it sounds like something he'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he basically that he was saying like he was insinuating that he'd been lied to by the engineering department of what the car was capable of and like where it was when they were designing it and in the wind tunnel and stuff like that. And he basically said he didn't trust the team anymore.
This all smacks of Paddy Lowe's most of a year at Williams.
which is the worst children's book.
Oh, God. We'll move on to Alfa Romeo now. Right. Is it me, or is Bottas just gradually becoming more and more anonymous and participatory? The best thing you can say about him this year is, well, there's the mullet.
He got his arse out last week on some magazine that Twitter had a lot to say about.
Yeah. See, I don't mean to, like, I don't know, sound like granddad here when it comes to this, but I don't I don't enjoy Happy Bottas. But there's just, I think it's all well and good doing stuff like that. Like when, obviously got a little bit sadder for Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren. But when you got Daniel Ricciardo in like Red Bull and even Renault towards the end of his Renault days, goofing around, because he'd goof around and then he'd get in the car and he'd absolutely do the job when he got in the car.
Yeah.
But watching Bottas goof around and then get in a car and go out in Q1,
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't got the same vibe.
Yeah, because he hosted like a gin tasting night at some point during the run up to the Australian. I think it was like the Tuesday or the Wednesday. He did some kind of like gin with Bottas. It was the gin they had in the paddock outside the Alfa Romeo.
Unless he's genuinely looking for side hustles, then I could understand that, because I don't think his main hustle is going to be Formula One for too much longer.
The way he's performing this season, no. I mean, we've joked about Anonymous Sauber before, and he's embodying it.
Yeah, he's like took it to the next level.
Yeah. They might as well paint that car blue, white, and gold again.
Yeah.
I'm calling it now. He's my vote for the participation award again.
He was there,
especially with what's happening with that team as well. They're probably going to want to keep continuity to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. They are, I personally think, going to want to replace one of their drivers to have somebody in that team that they at least expect to be there when it becomes Audi.
Yeah,
sooner rather than later.
So probably a German driver.
Maybe. I think they'll actually stick an English driver in there.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll be Lando.
Very interesting.
So it's if you're one of the drivers that are on the cusps of being replaced in that team, Bottas isn't doing his job if he wants to try and hang around in there.
Yeah, he's not as quick as Zhou at the moment, and you've kind of got to assume Zhou's probably on less of a salary.
Yeah.
And I think brings in a lot of sponsor, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have certainly thought that Zhou had got the backing, which is why there were teams clamouring for him, even when he was a Renault development driver.
Yeah.
Do you think there'd be any worry with having a Chinese driver with like Chinese money coming into the team at the minute? When you look at like global frictions, and see, we were pretty quick to ban Russians and like Russian sponsorship. Would you want them to be put all your eggs in one basket the way things are right now?
Which is why I think Audi would probably more likely to want a German driver. Just for that, just for those guarantees. I mean, the question.
I wonder if this is what it was like just before like the Second World War. Like we're sporting teams going, do we really want a Nazi?
I don't think you were allowed to have anyone foreign playing for you or racing for you at the time, were you?
I don't know. I really don't know.
There were riders who won TT races under the Nazi flag.
Yeah, there's some really bizarre pictures of the TT grandstand with like knowing now what the swastika sort of like the implications behind it are. When you see like the TT grandstand flying swastikas, it's quite a strange sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's not to say that the races themselves were Nazis. That was just the flag they came with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but as far as keeping one of the drivers on, it's Zhou would get it at the moment, just for performance
potential. Yeah, but on both sides, especially if you were Audi looking to like replace Valtteri Bottas with with somebody with some more experience, then you wouldn't be so worried about having a second driver in Zhou without as much experience.
Yeah, I mean, who Audi actually got?
What driver wise?
Yeah,
I think they'll go from inside Formula One. I don't know if they're looking at coming in to be in a like a real team, like that's going to challenge for championships and stuff like that, because they're going to want a star driver, aren't they? In the same way as Alpine, when they were making noises about wanting to be, they were going to be a manufacturer, be challenging for world championships in like 2.5 hours or whatever their prediction was. They looked at having Fernando Alonso as like a mission statement, didn't they?
Yeah. Probably the same with Alfa Romeo, actually, when they signed Kimi. I know it was Kimi sort of past his best, but he's a world champion.
Yeah.
And Bottas was world champion adjacent.
I think
unfortunately now he's points adjacent.
I think Lando ticks all the boxes for Audi.
Starting the 2026 silly season early.
No, for next year. I know he's under contract. I know he's under contract with McLaren for next year, but Daniel Ricciardo was under contract with McLaren this year.
Contracts are they've all got it. You've got a way out of them all the time.
Usually large amounts of cash, which McLaren probably don't have after giving Ricciardo that much.
No, it's only Guido van der Garde that seems to think a contract is actually unbreakable.
Well,
now there's a thought for the Alfa Romeo's sake.
That no one is thinking that. Absolutely no one is thinking that.
I've got working out for the Lando move instead of staying in McLaren. If the B-Spec car doesn't do anything, which I don't think it's going to, because it doesn't make sense for the B-Spec car to do any good, and they're sacking Key, because this is still going to be concepts that have come out through Key, aren't they? So
yeah,
if all of a sudden their B-Spec car is good, it's almost like going, Key had it right in the end. Damn. So I don't expect much improvement from McLaren with the V-Spec car. They might get closer towards the midfield, but I don't think it's gonna be like night and day and put them back up where they were like last year or the year before.
Or certainly where Lando was.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So if they've got to go straight back to the beginning to start designing a new car, that probably isn't really going to do anything this year. You're still looking at 2026 again this is going to be the year for McLaren. Given McLaren haven't been able to do it, if you were going to bet on any team giving you a good car for 2026 and you were Lando Norris, would you bet on it being Audi or McLaren right now? I would bet on Audi, even though they weren't in the sport, to come out with the goods, because they're not going to enter this flippantly.
It's interesting. It is one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I'm not sure, because, I mean, obviously Audi have got the 2-year run-up, because they're moving to being a Sauber partner from next year. And then the whole thing becomes Audi 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be jumping straight away. I would want to see what they can do from the start.
Are you jumping
but I
straight
think you'd
away,
miss
though,
it.
if they've got that year to sort of ease into it?
I'd maybe look at year 2. Year 1, let them find the feet.
But what if someone else jumps before you do? Because this is the thing, you're given the opportunity here to. Nobody could have guessed the success Lewis Hamilton would have had in Mercedes. We all thought it was ridiculous leaving McLaren to go to Mercedes when you look at where they were.
Yeah.
And, the best move a Formula One driver has probably ever made.
Yeah.
And
Sam Rosberg got his title as well. He went, he was at Mercedes from the start.
look at you talk about needing to be in the right place at the right time. Jenson Button won his world championship because he stayed in, he was in a team. I mean, fair enough. It kind of went the opposite way, didn't it? Because it was the manufacturer when he was in the team, and then when the manufacturer left, he happened to win. But I think if you go to a project that you think at some point this might bear fruit and stay there, then you've got better chance. Whereas McLaren have done this too many times now. Too many times.
Button was only in the Brawn because he couldn't actually, because Honda pulled out that late, he couldn't get anything else. There was a chance of a reserve role with Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But if McLaren have done this too many times now where they've looked like they're sorting out and then they've dropped back down, even back to when Button was in Mercedes, in McLaren. In 2011, it looked like they were starting to get it together again. He was second in the championship, and then it all fell apart. Then they've slowly built up again after the Honda era. Now it's all fell apart again. I think, twice, hasn't it, fell apart for them? So I just don't. Someone said something on someone else I was reading the other day where they were saying I know they're bringing the new simulator, wind tunnel online, and it seems strange saying it because the technology center looks so impressive, but it's completely outdated for modern Formula One.
And that's the problem with Formula One, isn't it? The technology does move so fast.
Yeah.
That if you take your eye off the ball for a second, you will get left behind.
I think the phrase is obsolete out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, where are we next? Haas. K-Mag DNF, Hulk got 7th, or could have been 4th, could have been 3rd if the protest had worked.
That would have been just the most Hulkenberg way to get a podium. Everyone else has crashed or got a penalty, and here I am.
7th. Oh, the usual. Yeah, don't forget, he was the last recipient of the Formula 1.5 prize for coming 7th. Haas are looking so much better this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of them,
never the same one twice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but Hulkenberg's definitely looks like he's got the legs, though, doesn't he?
He's got the qualifying edge, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah, he seems to do good work on Saturdays rather than K-Mag.
But K-Mag looked all right in the race until he drove into a wall,
Yes.
which is a problem.
But he was well down still, though, wasn't he? He was still at the point.
I think he had just passed Sonoda, so
Oh, did he just
would-
go into 10?
yeah, so would have been in and around arse end of the points.
So yeah, I mean they're not looking too shabby. We all know all the troubles that Haas have been through. You know, they appear to have got a sponsor that is legitimate this time.
Good
Yeah.
start.
Helpful.
Yeah. The car's looking good. They've got two solid drivers. Neither of those two are going to be world champions.
No.
But you know, semi-regular point scorers, it's what Haas want, because if they went from the back of the grid to second or third, then they'd have a hell of a lot to keep up. And with an F1 team, it's better to build gradually, I think, rather than make this massive jump. Because I mean, you look at the
Talat Aston Martin.
you look at the Braun Mercedes transformation. You know, Braun destroyed everyone for 2/3 of a season, and then when Mercedes came in, you know, they were struggling to get on the podium with the following year's car.
Yeah.
And everyone said, "Oh, yeah, Mercedes massive mistake. Why have they done it? Schumacher's too old. Rosberg's too unproven." And there were a bit of a, I won't say joke, but there were a bit of a, flash in the pan. They're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, they turned it round.
Yeah.
They've got the resources to turn it round in the pre-salary cap days. Haas, if they'd have made a massive step forward, I think the step back would have been even bigger. And I think that's what would have led Gene Haas to say, right, you can't do, you're not able to do it again. Right, I'm not funding it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think by going, bless you, by going this way in smaller steps and getting a solid, it's probably the most sort of solid and reliable driver lineup that they've had. Because they're not trying to take each other out.
They haven't really been next to each other on track.
Yeah, this truth. It'll be a case of give it time. They'll get that.
I mean, there may be threats of ball sucking to come later on after the upgrades, but but no, I'm enjoying seeing what they can do, and because even though we apparently hate Americans,
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously.
yeah. And, I'd really like to see them and Andretti at the back of the grid. Sorry, I'd really like to see them and Andretti fighting for points. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know what I'm going to do in 2.5 months when I'm in Tennessee hating America.
you're in the South. Most people get accused of hating America in the South, even the Americans. But no, I'm enjoying Haas this season for different reasons for why I've enjoyed Haas in the past, because they're not the comedy team anymore.
Yeah. It's good.
And Hulk has proved that 3 years away with the odd substitute appearance, he's doing as good as he's ever done.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like Hulk's there's definitely so much talent in Nico Hulkenberg. Just one of those drivers that's he never seems to be able to fulfill his potential. It's weird.
Yeah, when things look like they're going right for him, something happens.
Yeah. I like Hulkenberg. He seems like one of the nice guys of Formula One.
Yeah. No, doesn't seem to get riled easily, and he's fairly easygoing. I mean, maybe that's what he's missing, the sort of killer instinct.
Maybe. Johnny Herbert always said he was too nice for Formula One, and that's what he said before. Maybe if he made a few less friends and upset a few more people, he'd have had more success than he did.
Yeah, that kind of works. I mean, you look at world champions. You know, I mean,
You've got to have a bit of an edge, haven't
Yeah.
you? You've got to be selfish.
you know, I mean, when Seb was winning titles, he had that arrogance about him. You know, Mr. Pointy Finger. Schumacher, you know. No, I think the last sort of nice world champion was probably Jensen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're probably right.
And before that, Damon.
Kimmy? Would we put Kimmy down as a nice world champion?
We don't know if he's nice or not. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, take that. Yeah.
You know, same with Hakkinen, the original Iceman.
I mean, and oddly enough, we are talking about with the guys we're looking at as being like the nice guy world champions. We're looking at single one-off world champions as well. I don't think that's so. Maybe that's the thing is you have the better cock you can be is the more success for the longer period of time.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Because I mean, say what you want about Lewis Hamilton, he's a very divisive person and does rile people.
There's an air of arrogance, man, but it's the type of air of arrogance I think you have to be a top flight sportsman.
Yeah.
But yeah, he certainly does the business.
I will always say whenever I've said to people, I still find that bizarre. The when we went to the 2018 launch, that when we were sort of hanging around waiting for something to happen, and there was something different about when Lewis came in the room.
Yeah,
I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan. Like, I never really have been. But when he walked in the room, it was I've never met another person that's you would consider as like one of the best at what they do in the world. But like when you think, oh well, this must be what it's like to have walked, be in the same room with like Muhammad Ali or Pele or something like that. You know, it's there's something different about the makeup of the people.
yeah. The atmosphere just changed completely, and all he did was walk through some doors, which I kept getting static electric shocks off every time I went for a smoke.
Yeah.
Got Angela to help him take his jacket off.
You saying they're the most electrifying doors in sports entertainment?
Oh. Definitely odds 3. And got Angela to help him take his jacket off, and the whole atmosphere was just changed.
Yeah.
And that was a room full of professional F1 writers and us.
Yeah.
Professional journalists and a couple of out and out absolute bloody chances.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
Strange.
It's even weirder the fact I had to go and throw up in the toilet.
You nearly threw up on Billy Munger.
I nearly threw up at Billy Munger, and I nearly threw up in the middle of Lewis's press conference.
I'm sure
Like,
there's
of
some
all
interpretation where that is a hate crime in both forms.
I have I've got a funny feeling if I'd have done it well, Bottas was there, like somebody would have made Bottas clean it up for me, but like Lewis, you can't do that around. Wild.
While we're name dropping, let's move on to the other team that we met that year, McLaren.
Yep.
Lando in 6th, Piastri in 8th. Piastri getting points at his home Grand Prix. Every Australian seemed to struggle at some point of the weekend in whatever series.
Yeah. The Daniel Ricciardo looked like he was struggling with his life when he was on the pit wall.
There were some memeable moments from Danny Rick in the garage, I happened to notice, because he kept mugging for the cameras quite a lot.
Did you hear the interview when Ted Kravitz grabbed hold of him on the notebook?
I think I managed to completely miss the notebook.
I think I heard Ted talking about it in like the later Notebook. Was this the one where he says something like, "Oh, I can do it for a year"?
Yeah. Well, Ted Kravitz started making a big deal about it, saying, "Oh, I don't like seeing you on the sideline. It's not right." But he turned around, he said, "No, Ted, don't worry. I can do it for a year." And then Ted went to say something. I said, "No, don't worry. it's just a year, and before you know it, you'll have forgot I was ever gone at all.
There's your next Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, from what Ted was saying about it, it did seem like it was very much an implied. There's already a
Something's
plan.
here. Yeah. I still wouldn't be surprised to see him replace Perez.
I don't know. Perez is doing the business and allowing himself to be sabotaged just the right amount.
Yeah, but maybe if Daniel Ricciardo could do that job and didn't need to be sabotaged, that would have to be the sweet spot, wouldn't it?
Would he work with Max again? Is the question.
Who was it? The Morris Hamilton. I think it was Morris Hamilton. Said that he'd been told the Daniel Ricciardo was slow when he got into the Red Bull simulator, and that was what made Christian Horner say in one of the press conferences, one of the interviews about him, that it was really weird when he got back in the Red Bull simulator because they already had so much data of Daniel Ricciardo on a sim, that they instantly saw all the bad habits he'd picked up since he'd been racing for other teams, and were able to quickly see them and iron them out. And he got up to a similar, if not that. I think someone on the podcast I was listening to referred to it either. If you happen to be a particular fan of Daniel Ricciardo and you're one of the people in the pit lane, they would tell you he's a smidge quicker than Sergio Perez in the sim. And if you happen to speak to somebody that was a Sergio Perez fan, they would say, no, Perez is still a smidge faster than where Daniel Ricciardo's got himself in the sim. But either imply both, like, in the sim seem to be on a similar type of level.
So we could see one of them at Alfa Romeo next year.
Someone could move. It could happen.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see whether they can give him a tyre test or something like that. Get him in a car for the Pirelli tyre test. See where he is when he's not in a McLaren. Because if he's still Daniel Ricciardo, not McLaren Daniel Ricciardo, he should be on the grid still.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever think that any job that you do is pointless and thankless, you're not the guy who designed Danny Rick's helmet for the Australian Grand Prix weekend.
Yes.
But going back to McLaren, as I mentioned, every Australian seemed to struggle. F3, F2, supercars. Piastri had issues in qualifying.
Yeah.
Managed to get points at his home race. 8th place, all right, albeit with shenanigans. Lando in 6th as well with similar shenanigans. Putting the McLaren where it should be, thanks to other cars not finishing. That's not what we should be seeing from McLaren. They should have been there before the Alpines killed each other.
Because I think this leaves them like really not very far behind Ferrari in the championship.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Hulkenberg is on the same points as Leclerc.
That's wild.
So, yes, McLaren finished where they should have done, but it took a...
Yeah, they got some help to get there.
It still wasn't good, was it? Even though like Lando had a fairly clean weekend, he was still pretty subdued in the pen when they were talking to him. Like he knows that they've got a good result, but it's going to be a while before we see him slam some champagne off a step, I think.
Yeah, McLaren need to do a lot of work. Baku's going to be interesting if the new car's there by then. Problem is with McLaren, every time they say they're going to, there's going to be upgrades, and this has been going on since the 90s, I've just got this air of they're not going to do it in time.
I agree.
Baku can be a bit of a lottery as well, can't it? So they could bring everything and shove it in a wall straight away, and they have no idea then if it works or not.
Well, I noticed when Lando was talking about it, the upgrades, he did say the upgrades are coming in Baku, but we might not see the fruits just because of the nature of the factor on a street circuit. They're upgrades that will improve the car, but you're going to see it more in the coming races. And you go, that
So why
That
bring it
feels
to
like-
Baku?
Yeah, but and it also feels like something someone's told him to say.
Yeah,
Mm.
get the excuse in now.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
But
the thing is though, I mean, they're bringing the upgrades. If the car's riding lower and it's actually sitting better on the ground, that's going to be negated at Baku by the bumpy surface.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to be running low on a nice flat track, not a street circuit. You know, with the best will in the world, you can level out any street circuit, but there's still going to be welded down manhole covers
and freshly tarmacked over cobblestones.
and slippery white lines.
Yeah.
And a castle.
Yeah,
I just wonder if we get to Baku and there's clearly no upgrades from there's not the jump that you would expect, because realistically anything that doesn't fling McLaren up to, and I would argue in front of Alpine, bearing in mind that we expected from last year, maybe not expected, but we half thought that McLaren might throw a surprise and break into the top 3 teams this year. Anything that doesn't put them top or equal top of the midfield is a failure.
yeah, but that's the position that they've been in when they've been good, and
Yeah.
they expect to be in.
Yeah,
And that's how they always talk it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're one of the longest standing and best teams in Formula One. So why are you struggling to get both cars into Q2?
And it means nothing. Look at Ferrari.
Yeah,
Ferrari have all the time, money, resources in the world, and they have the pull of Ferrari to try and attract people to the team, and they just constantly keep shooting themselves in the foot.
yeah. You can have the name, but if you haven't got the performance and the results to back it up,
Oh my God! I used to always call Nico Hülkenberg the German Jensen Button, didn't I?
you did.
Are McLaren the British Ferrari?
Oh, interesting. On current form, potentially.
There is every chance. I mean, at least they can count to 4 in pit stop.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So we've had the German Jensen Button, the British Ferrari, now the green Red Bull.
Yes.
Which, to be perfectly honest, they've got Red Bull philosophy, but it looks nothing like a Red Bull.
It really doesn't.
It's just a good car. They
Yeah.
just built a solid Formula One car.
Yeah, by spending too much money on it. Don't forget they went over the cost cap, and it wasn't catering in their case.
How much did they go over it?
5 million?
Was it? I can't remember. They didn't get penalised though, did they? Not like Red Bull.
I think theirs was like a lesser breach somehow. I can't remember what exactly the wording was, but there was them and Williams, was it?
Yeah.
Did they misfile rather than go over?
I think Williams misfiled and Red Bull made accounting errors putting things in the wrong column.
Uh-huh.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Aston Martin. Red Bull just said it was all on catering.
Right. Okay.
Um,
It's working though.
well, yeah, it's, third and fourth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they can repeat this, especially with the facilities that haven't, that are being made, we were in danger of having to call Aston Martin like a genuine, proper, fully fledged, premium Formula One team.
Yeah, which is what the Silverstone team's always wanted to be, but has never had the funds to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Great, except when they were Midland, which they were barely a Formula One team with no money. And then Spiker, who realised that, oh, hang on, this is more expensive than we thought.
Yeah, this is so difficult.
All they have to do is get Paddy Lowe to tell them making Formula One cars is difficult. But Alonso making a good career move and being happy and jolly and
It's confusing.
It is. I still say that Vettel's bad luck bad lucked Alonso's bad luck, making Alonso's bad luck good luck.
He's never been off the podium this season.
No, and fate even tried to make it so this weekend. Even that didn't work.
Well, Sainz did.
Yeah, totally deserved that penalty, by the way.
Not that,
But no, it's
not
great.
that you're biased or anything.
No, he did deserve it though. Even because I was even thinking about Martin Brundle's tweet about how it was essentially the first lap of a Formula One race. I thought, yeah, but he did tag someone and send them from third to last. That's a fairly big oopsie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even on a first corner.
Yeah, I mean, out of everything on that third restart, Sainz was the only one to actually get penalised.
Yeah, I don't think Sainz was any worse than like Sargent, but then I kind of wonder if Sargent probably should have got a penalty. So yeah.
I think Sainz is desperate. I think that's what his problem was there.
Saw
You could
a
even
pose,
hear it in
yeah.
his voice.
Yeah.
Joey didn't do his pit interviews after the race.
Did he not?
No, he was took into the thing, and I heard the recording of it with someone asked him a question. And he said, "Look," he said, I can't talk right now." He said, "I can't talk." He said, "I'm not going to do this until I've spoke to the race directors." He said, "Then I will come straight back out, but right now I'm not talking to anybody."
Wow.
I mean, the radio message they played apparently was only about half of what was said, and
Yes, I'm sure some of it was probably not broadcastable.
yeah,
I think he cried. I think he was just like, and I'm not. This isn't me trying to take the piss out of him or anything like that. But you could genuinely hear his voice starting to break.
Yeah.
When he was in the car.
Oh no, he sounded on the verge of tears.
Yeah. Which is weird because it was fourth. He was
Yeah.
he was going to be in fourth. But yeah, no, clearly a man that's career might not be going the way he wants it to.
But yeah, I mean, the Aston Martin is actually making Stroll look okay.
Maybe he is okay.
Mhm.
Like I think there is definitely going to have to become a point where if Stroll stops making stupid moves, and he's within like half a second of Fernando, and he's keeping that Aston Martin deep in the point scoring positions, we're going to have to go, do you know what? Stroll's dad might have bought a team, but Stroll probably deserves to be in Formula One too.
It's a Stroll track next as well, isn't it? He likes Baku. Or seems to get on well there. And
Yeah, he's been on the podium there before.
twice,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, nearly got a second. If it hadn't been for Bottas being told to stick his engine in quali mode and sod the lifespan and go for it.
Do you think, in some ways, Fernando Alonso, and maybe this is the first time this has ever happened for a driver that Alonso's been a teammate of, do you think it actually takes the pressure off Stroll? Because that team's about Fernando Alonso, which means it's not about daddy's team with your son.
Yeah, which, I mean, Stroll got some good results at Williams.
Yeah.
As soon as Racing Point became a thing, it was all, oh yeah, he's only got the seat because of who his dad is.
Yeah.
And he started screwing up worse than he had done at Williams. I mean, he still doesn't know how to use his mirrors, but
No, but let's be perfectly honest here. He wouldn't be the first crashy Formula One driver we've had.
No.
no, that is true.
He's not as crashy as Pastor Maldonado.
No.
Nobody's as crashy as Pastor Maldonado.
No. There's successful kamikaze pilots that aren't as crashy as Fernando. There's a Fernando Alonso. Godly, don't say that. Damn you. But yeah, I think the other thing is as well as it just being like Alonso's team, so that takes the pressure off him as well. He had a broken Vettel next to him before, and then it was a case of when he did well, it was like, well, it's not Vettel, is it? If Vettel was real Vettel, he wouldn't be beating Vettel. And then when Vettel would beat him, it'd be like, well, obviously Vettel's beating Lance Stroll. But he goes into this situation, nobody expects him to beat Fernando Alonso. And it doesn't matter if he doesn't beat Fernando Alonso because it's one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. And not like you could argue that Sebastian Vettel is one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. but not when he was in that car.
Yeah.
You know, he said that the Vettel, one of the best drivers of all time, left Red Bull and never came back.
Yeah.
Whereas Fernando Alonso somehow at the age of 41 or 70, whatever he is, seems to be in the form of his life.
I want to know what he's on, and I want some of it.
All of it. All of like whatever the Rock's on, he's doubled it.
Doesn't the Rock have something like 6 kilos of cod a day or something ridiculous like that? There's like an unfeasible amount of fish.
The other thing is as well, the capacity he had. I was amazed when that red flag dropped. And he just went, "Oh, it's Silverstone, isn't it? It's just like Silverstone, so it'll be the lap back."
Yeah, he seemed to know before anyone at the FIA.
Yeah, it was so quick, and he said that in between being punted off by Sainz and getting to the next corner. Like it was so fast. He'd gone through that situation in his head whilst in a Formula One car, whilst being punted off the road by like his compatriot in a Ferrari.
Not just his compatriot, his protege.
Yeah. Crazy.
He's a robot. That can only be it. He's not the real Fernando. He's a replicant.
I tell you what though, you definitely get that thing, don't you? You know, I know I've said it now and again, thinking, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I didn't even believe it at the time. But you do properly get that feeling when you watch Fernando now. You go, fuck, you know, like if he gets the car, now, you know, if he gets a car capable of challenging Max properly, there's still a world championship in Fernando Alonso.
The scary thing is, I'm going to have to agree with you on a Alonso thought.
Yeah. Like if that Aston Martin was what, a second quicker, probably. You know, if you factor in sandbagging for like what Max is probably doing, if there was another second in that Aston Martin, that'd be a championship battle between him and Max.
Well, talking of sandbagging, George Russell said that he reckons Red Bull are sandbagging just so that FIA or Formula One don't change the regulations to hinder them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Mercedes, that might be Mercedes and George just saying stuff.
You like shit stirring.
Yeah, probably. Someone needs to catch up though, because he looks unstoppable, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, when he passed Hamilton, it was like, oh, right, okay, game over, that's it, we're done.
Yeah. There was just no defending it, was there?
Aside from that brief moment where he ended up on the grass.
Yeah, that was wild. He was going fastest lap, was he?
Yeah. I was like, oh, where's he gone?
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull were having... Well, might as well do the top two teams all at once.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Red Bull were having brake trouble all weekend, because when Perez went off in Q1, he was saying that's the same problem that's been happening before, where he's been locking
colder,
up.
I think a lot of them were saying, wasn't it? Because it's a couple of weeks later in the year anyway. But just the weather forecast, particularly the first couple of days, not so much for the race, was just so much colder. No one was getting heat into their tyres. Nothing was like up to temperature. And yeah, for a few people, it just didn't come together as they thought it would.
Yeah, and it was giving Red Bull brake locking issues. And then normally, you never see a Red Bull lock up. Not unless somebody's
not very often.
come to a halt in front of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, the conspiracy theorists were out in force saying, "Oh yeah, they've done something to Checo's car so that he doesn't stand a chance of winning this week."
It did seem weird though, didn't it?
It was very un-Checo.
Yeah, because
well, maybe just buckled as well. Like, because people kept saying around and saying, he won the last race, they're nearly equal on points. Australia's a street circuit. Baku's a street circuit. Where are we after Baku? Is it Monaco?
Is it Canada?
Canada,
and then
Canada, then Monaco.
Yeah, Canada, Monaco, then Spain.
Yeah,
geographically it makes sense.
Yeah, you had that run of street circuits. People were like, he's a street circuit specialist. Could he leave Monaco, like ahead in the championship, go into Spain? This stops that really from being a thing. he's not gonna. Max will have to have a DNF or two, I think, for him to properly get ahead now. So it's done. If they wanted to do it, it's done its job.
But no, I just think it was a genuine car issue.
Yeah.
He had an off weekend. He still got up to fifth.
Yeah, I'm not saying I believe that. By the way, I'm just it's if that's what they want to do, I don't really see what benefit a team has doing that when they've got such a dominant car.
No, I mean you just multi 21, don't you?
Well, it's not even just that. It's like you could say, oh well, if you let the drivers race, you're gonna the drivers are gonna fall out with each other, and you're gonna have loads of problems that way. I would argue that favouring one driver over another to that level will mean you have driver problems anyway.
And you don't know at this point of the season, do you? Like Max Verstappen could go completely off the boil, and if you've tanked your other driver, then where are you in the championship?
It's fairly short odds, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's unlikely, but it's not. It's not like you can't rule it out.
1999 Ferrari.
99. What happened in 1999?
Schumacher broke his leg, and
Yes,
mysteriously Eddie Irvine missed out on the drivers' championship because of supposed car trouble in Japan because they just couldn't get the setup right, but they still did enough to win the constructors.
Yeah, Mr. Ferrari would barbecue his own mother for that world championship now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was blatantly obvious what they were doing to Irvine. He was Ferrari'd out of it.
Yeah, that was so stupid. When looking back, and that the idea that somehow, even if Schumacher then went on to win more championships, which he obviously would have done, somehow that those championships would have been not as valuable because Irvine had won one. That is the stupidest logic in the world.
Prime Ferrari.
Yeah, prime Ferrari. Maybe they've always been capable of it. They've always been capable of being Ferrari. They haven't been able to to swing for the fences like they can now.
Yeah. I mean, looking at Mercedes, strong starts from both of them.
Yeah.
Really good start.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah. I mean, Russell getting away, and then about 2 or 3 second gap by the time.
Oh yeah, he went.
Yeah, by the time the safety car came out, and then just got Ferrari look.
Yeah, as soon as he came in, as soon as Russell came into the pit lane and Sainz followed, it was like, oh, this ain't the right call. Ferrari have one car. They only have one car, and they're bringing it in. This is definitely not the right call.
And as it turned out, I mean, if his engine hadn't have completely let go, he'd have been battling for 5th, 4th.
That's what I'd do if I was a Ferrari driver. If they were talking to me about strategy before they even open the mouth, I'd go, no, wait, I've got a new strategy. There's a dartboard over there with all the other teams minus Charles Leclerc on it. Just throw a dart at the dartboard, pick our driver, and we shadow them on strategy.
Then again, I mean, with it being Sainz coming in, he is head Ferrari strategist. Or he certainly...
Yes.
Would he have said, "Are you sure, guys?"
This is true. We have hypothesized this before.
Yeah.
No, it was the right move. If that safety car hadn't have come out, and you wouldn't have thought from that incident that a safety car, if that red flag hadn't happened, Russell and Carlos quid seats, they were in there. I don't think George would have won the race, but he'd have had a better chance of winning the race than Lewis did by staying out.
Yeah.
Because when you think that, I suppose the thought Russell probably had, because it was his call to come in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they could have used Lewis to maybe hold Verstappen up a little bit, you had Carlos coming in with George as well. So when I don't think it would have took long for Max to dispatch Carlos, but it's another car he'd have had to get past on the way to getting George back.
Yeah.
And it's more of a gap George could have built up. So I think if that safety car hadn't have come out, that George would have been nailed on for second place.
Yeah, I think so. It was just unfortunate, and then I mean the rarity of a Mercedes engine letting go.
Yeah, that's
Especially
very
in such
unusual.
spectacular fashion.
Yeah,
Quite worrying actually on like race 3.
yeah. I mean, that was up with Malaysia 2016.
Yeah.
Was it one of Sainz's last year as well? Had a proper like fiery let go. I know that's not a Mercedes, but
Yeah, it was at Austria. He got off the track, and the car started rolling backwards on fire.
Yeah.
but yeah, it is sort of it is. They just go, don't they? They go from like a little bit of smoke to like, oh hi, it's a massive fire, very quickly.
Yeah, that was one where the marshal tried to stop it with his shoe.
It's not a good idea.
That was all he had. He had 2 things he could put under the wheel to stop it moving: his shoe or the fire extinguisher. And the fire extinguisher
Better off putting the fire.
little more than
Better-
he did.
Yeah, better off putting the fire extinguisher and trying to put it out with your shoe.
I mean, that's the Ferrari way of doing things, isn't it? Punch the fire out. On the other drivers in the top in the top 2 teams, Hamilton we haven't talked about. That was that's probably his best drive this year,
Oh, definitely.
and he seemed to be happy at the end,
Yeah.
which we didn't get a great deal of last season. Are Mercedes coming back? No, I think they flattered to deceive with everything else that was going on.
I think that was. I don't think they flattered to deceive with everything else that was going on, because they were legitimately up there in qualifying. It's like in qualifying positions. That was a legitimate front row start for one of them. But I do think it was track specific.
Yeah, I mean Mercedes race pace is what they really need to concentrate on.
We saw a lot of this last year, particularly early on last year with Mercedes, so that even though they were off the pace, they just kind of got everything right so that when it went wrong for other people, they were in the right place, and that's where they were sort of picking up all their podiums. There's maybe a bit of that.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Just because the car isn't quite where they wanted it to be, it doesn't mean that they are not still operationally a really good, strong Formula One team.
Oh yeah,
Do you think this could mess them up though? Like this result and being up, like, because they need to, if they're going to abandon this concept of car, like they need to have all heads agreed that that's what they're doing. I'm absolutely convinced there will be fans of this concept of car when they got back into the debrief, going, see, I told you we just need to keep working with this car.
Yeah, but then in 4 weeks' time, when we're talking about Baku, when we see how much down on top speed they are, which is something that you desperately need there with those straights.
They're not too bad, on the top speed. They're the second. The Mercedes are second to Red Bull.
But the problem is they are coming onto the longest straight off some high-speed corners, which is where they're going to be lacking. They'll get the top speed.
Yeah.
They'll get the top speed, but they will get it later than Red Bull do, which is going to give them the deficit.
I mean, they're still going to be down on Red Bull, because Red Bull have got a massive top speed. But see, that's the interesting thing is, I think it's something like, fuck it, what would it be? I'm trying to think. I know where. If it's in kilometers, not miles per hour, I think it's something like the Red Bull have a good 11 kilometers an hour on the straights to Mercedes. Oh no, maybe it's 5, and then
it's 11 with it's 11 under DRS.
Yeah, and then the Aston Martin is behind the Mercedes by a good chunk as well. They're really bad for straight line speed. I think that was the Aston Martin actually said they were going to use this race to address whether they need a new rear wing, and that's where they need to put their resources now, is to drop some drag off the rear wing. And I would suggest looking at I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. I was looking at them yesterday. I'd say that they will definitely come to that conclusion that they need to trim some drag off that car.
But I think Mercedes will, don't see them having the same kind of performance in Baku.
No, it would be nice. Red Bull are going to be unstoppable in Baku.
Yeah,
it's going to be an absolute walk. I think
the DRS advantage that Red Bull had, this weekend, it was crazy.
Do you think there is and I'm not sure how I feel about this either, and it's probably opens up for a slightly more broader conversation about the entertainment factor that people keep talking about when it comes to Formula One. But these rules, like, people are saying now, like, oh, if the FIA are going to try and hold up Red Bull, but the rules were made in a way, like, even before these new cars launched, it was like, look, they want to help, like, have some sort of convergence where it comes to like the speed of the cars, and the rules have been implemented in a way so if somebody does, like, interpret the rules too well, those interpretations can then be trimmed back to try and squeeze the grid together. That's the whole idea of it. Do you think that's where it's going to happen? Is this straight line advantage? If a team can lodge a decent enough protest as to why the Red Bulls seem to be so slippery in a straight line, especially with their DRS,
they've got to find something even borderline illegal, and I don't think they can, because the way that Red Bull are designing the cars is completely bulletproof.
Maybe but it does seem strange in this era of Formula One, where the cars are so tightly regulated. It seems weird that they've managed to find such a deficit to the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
Mercedes haven't forgot how to make Formula One cars. Ferrari haven't forgot how to make, like, Formula One cars that can nearly win championships. It just seems like such a. I don't think it's the most dominant car like Formula One's ever seen by any stretch of imagination. I think.
God, no! I mean, Lewis keeps saying I've never seen a more dominant car than this year's Red Bull.
Yeah, because he was in it. He didn't see it because he was.
Yeah, the difference there is the Red Bull is around about half a second faster in race pace. The 2017 Mercedes was 1.1 seconds faster than everybody else in race pace.
Probably, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's closed up, and there's a car that's got the most out of the rules.
I suppose that's the other thing as well, and I get the whole thing of, like, well, you shouldn't penalise someone for doing a good job, and I get that. I understand, but at the end of the day, Formula One, the aspect we watch, as much as interesting as the engineering is, especially to certain people, especially like people like Scarbs, I get it, how interesting the engineering side is. 99% of people watch Formula One because they just want to watch people race each other in quick cars.
Yeah.
So anything you can do to try and even the playing field, because that's, you kind of not, you might be penalising the team, but by let's say you could legitimately shave half a second off the Red Bull and say, look, you have done this magic thing. We have decided this magic thing is illegal. Half a second has gone off your car right now. People would go, well, that's penalising Red Bull, so that's unfair. But then you go, well, no, because now everybody competes on a level playing field, or a more level playing field. You're actually going to get a race. You're going to see whether Lewis Hamilton can beat Max Verstappen. You're going to see whether Fernando Alonso can beat the two of them. But until that car advantage disappears, then it might as well be cheating at that point, because there's nothing equal about it anyway.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with Formula One, though, isn't it? It's not a spec series. You know,
Yeah.
every team is free to interpret the rules as they see fit.
Yeah.
Within the rules and the guidelines. And if somebody does it better, then they get the success.
The question then needs to be had is that viable in in the way we currently consume entertainment? Can you have, let's say we had a Ferrari era of dominance in another 5 years time, for instance. I don't just mean now, because people's attention spans don't disappear overnight. We are this core Formula One fanatic group which will always watch every race, and the only bad thing about a Formula One race is it's never 10 laps longer than it is. But we're also a generation of people that grew up with 4 TV channels and no mobile phones, and we've straddled that technological thing.
Can I just say I'm old enough to remember when there was only 3?
I know. Look, I'm being kind to you by just saying where here. But the thing is, the people that are going to be watch Formula One are going to be people that watch TikTok and or maybe not watch TikTok for much longer, but also have this wealth of entertainment. So if people tune into Formula One and it's boring, they're just going to go, all right, well, there's everything else in the world that I can get instant access to from any device I have. Why would I put time and effort into watching something that's not interesting?
And I think that's why F1's going for the sideshow stuff as well, to get the interest, and the race becomes a smaller percentage of the F1 experience.
Maybe I see no problem with what we started the show talking about, the idea that there is a prerogative in within the FIA and race stewards. Under most circumstances, we will try and get racing. And people talk about that like it's a bad thing, which is really weird. Like when you had people online yesterday that would have preferred the race just to end with 5 laps behind a safety car than them try and get racing again. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with Formula One fans? Why would you prefer just to watch a race finish on a safety car when you can just restart the race and have 5 racing laps or 3 racing laps?
Mm-hmm. Oh, as soon as that red flag came out with a few laps to go, it was like, yes, a sprint. That's what we need.
This is it. Yeah. I thought it was great, and then you go online and the vocal Twitter Formula One crowd. And the funny thing is, those same people, if it would have finished under a safety car, would have complained it finished under a safety car, like we used to do when it used to finish when things finished under safety car,
like the IndyCar did after Grosjean binned it last night.
Yeah, yes. It's no one's ever enjoyed seeing a Formula One race finish behind a safety car. It's horrible. You feel like you've been cheated, I think, when that happens. But yeah, I think Formula One moving in a direction where they go, look, we have to entertain people. You're not fixing races. It's not. We're not going like WWE, where on the podium where whoever finished 4th comes out and cuts a promo on the top 3 before the next race.
No, they're saving that for UFC now. They're merging.
I know, yeah. I know it's a really good thing, and I'm quite happy about that. I thought it was going to get bought by the Saudis for a while.
Fight entertainment.
Yeah. Isn't that boxing now? Boxing seems to have gone very WWE without the chairs. But yeah, I don't know. I saw a race. I was quite frustrated on Sunday. I saw a race that was incredibly entertaining, that had realistically, when you had a car as strong as the Red Bull, shouldn't have had anywhere near the drama and twists and turns it had. I was just happy I was entertained for an afternoon.
I mean, at least it wasn't France.
It's true.
There was definitely more entertainment than that.
I think you need mines to make France like interesting. Like offline you have landmines.
It would be a lot better. Should we do our usual rock stars and wankers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Wings Triumphant. Apologies for saying it wasn't you that normally does it the other week. I was very tired. Has given his usual list of suggestions. I'll go through these and then we can discuss and add to. Starts off with Red Bull for the usual domination. Perez for a decent bit of overtaking at a track where it's usually somewhat tricky to overtake.
We're calling the Red Bull domination Rockstar, not wanker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was fairly good overtakes, wasn't there?
Yeah.
For Australia. I tell you what was a wanker was that extra DRS zone.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary.
4 is a lot.
I mean, DRS, it's an overfake to begin with.
Yeah.
But having 2 DRS zones with only 1 detection point gives you the advantage. You get past somebody,
And then
use your DRS on the second section, and you don't have to defend, and whoever's behind you can fall out of range for the next zone.
Yeah. Tell you what, that's definitely the thing. Like, if you wanted to talk about making cars closer to each other, getting cars to the point where we can get rid of DRS, that's a gimmick we should be aiming to get rid of.
Or make it completely open. You can use it whenever you want.
That's more sensible. I mean, it negates having it, because the minute somebody tries to use DRS on you, that you just use your DRS and then you just go hurtling towards a corner to certain death together.
They used to do that in Quali, didn't they? I think, did you used to have unlimited DRS in Quali?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the quali laps were about 3 seconds faster than the fastest lap in the race.
Well, I remember because when
3, more like 5.
Yeah, I remember when they first introduced DRS, didn't they? There was that sort of tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, like, who's going to be the one that tries to go through a rouge with DRS open there? Or even like take the like, we're all into hybrids and electricity and stuff like that in Formula One cars now. Like a legit push to pass button.
Yeah.
I prefer that to DRS.
Yeah, you got your energy recovery, your battery boost, and I mean, Kerrs was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely worked. Right, other rock stars. Mercedes for a significant leap forward. Now, I'm torn on this one, because yes, it was a leap forward for them, but was it track specific?
Yeah, we don't know if it's a leap forward or just a good weekend.
Yeah. Alonso for another great podium. Briefly capable of taking the fight to Hamilton until the second to last red flag. Also, second to last red flag shouldn't be a sentence that's used.
Yeah.
McLaren and Piastri for his first points. Maybe it was pace, maybe it was luck, but good to see a temporary recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Hülkenberg for matching Leclerc on points.
I mean, I would say that makes Hülkenberg a rock star and Leclerc an instant wanker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get to the Ferrari bit in the wankers section. Now, he says Australian fans for putting up with the evening sun through 3 red flags. The promoters were called to the stewards at the end for fans getting onto the track during the cool-down lap.
Yeah, never seen the promoter call to the stewards before. Like, summons to not just like, oh, come in for a chat and a biscuit.
Yeah, proper FIA documents. And, the promoter's now being referred to the World Motorsport Council for not providing adequate security for stop people getting on track while the track was live.
They are really pissy now, aren't they, the race stewards? But, there seems to be this real, like... I don't want to sound like an 80-year-old Formula One driver that thinks if you don't come home on fire, you haven't raced today. But there does seem to be a real nanny attitude with things.
I think the aggravating issue here was that the red light was on Hülkenberg's car, so it was live, and there's like a load of fans just being allowed to walk up to it.
Right.
'Cause I think the issue from a sort of fan safety point of view.
No. Oh, okay. So yeah, well, no, that's fair enough. I suppose I was just thinking of it being in a classic Formula One sense. Then, not forgetting that those things are essentially fucking live electrocution machines.
Yeah.
Something go wrong with them. Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know,
I mean, some people would say that you probably shouldn't just like walk up to and touch a car that's not yours as well. That's also that element.
Or yeah, yeah, especially a broken down one.
yeah.
But,
But yeah, I mean, how many times have we heard since Curse was a thing? Get out of the car and don't touch the bodywork.
Yes, jump clear of the car.
I have a good. I have a relevant comment from somebody.
Oh, good.
That was at the race. If I can find it, it's worth it. This is from the Gez 2 on Twitter. He replied to me talking about the Australian Grand Prix, and he said, "I was at the track. It was maddening, but I have to say we were thoroughly entertained." So that was a different one. But somebody else referred to themselves as having a great time at the track, having somewhere in the region of 11 beers.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget for all the races at Bathurst to put a limit on how much you can take in. So what people do is they turn up early, like about a week early, pick the spot, bury their booze stash, mark it, and then come back, camp there, bring a shovel, and they've got another 11, well, flaps
I love it.
probably.
This is the thing. When you say as well, it's restricted. It's not like you can only bring in 4. I think it's restricted to something like 24 and like 6 bottles of wine per person.
Per person per day.
It's a pretty generous allowance.
Oh yeah, but they still want more. And an honourable mention to Alpine for lending their grid cart to Alfa Romeo after both of their cars went out.
Yeah, that was nice.
I'm going to throw Alonso in there as well for towing the grid cart himself.
Yeah, he like dragged a thing of tyres, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the wanker list. FIA for taking so long with the confusing restarts. Now, I don't think so, because the rules are that convoluted that I think they needed to check, double-check, triple-check, and get independent adjudication on whether what they were doing was the right thing.
I don't know, how hard is open document Control F find the section on red flag?
But again, you've then got every single Formula One team boss trying to finesse the rules to benefit their team.
Yeah, I mean, it probably didn't take them long to work it out. It took them a while to field 9 or 10
That's the thing, the
calls.
longer you wait, the longer you've got this sort of campaigning.
To quote the undisputed GOAT of FIA rule making, we went motor racing.
That fits in with the entire Sky team, even Ted Kravitz, for not shutting up about Massey in Abu Dhabi 2021. Oh, your timing is still there. Not sure where there is.
Can we have just a black 3 legs 4 wheels t-shirt with just "We went motor racing" on it?
Yeah, I'm working on some new merch. I'm trying to find a new merch company.
That feels like something that might shift a couple.
Yeah. Oh, just on the subject of merch, just
Do it in orange. Oh my god!
just a quick shout out to one of our longest listeners, Rich Walker.
The stalker.
We are going to get some hats sorted out soon, so you will be able to get a 3 legs 4 wheels hat to go along with the wall hanging that you're taking with you when you go camping at various racetracks for IMSA series.
What style of hat?
Baseball caps.
Okay.
Baseball caps. I'm trying to find a good baseball cap supply. So if anyone knows one that does print and dispatch on demand, let me know. But yeah, it's good. It's good to know that Rich is still listening to us 8 years on, because he was one of our first ever listeners. Moving away from honorary rock stars like Rich, back to the wankers list. Ferrari and Alpine for all their crashes. I can see it as a racing incident, but I don't see why during a race start or restart the drivers just seem to not be aware that other drivers might be tightly packed round them. Can't argue with that. George Russell's engine for costing Merc a double points finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone online throwing accusations at Max over the grid box incident without checking if it was actually against the rules.
It's not.
It's not. The tyres were on the white line, which is legal. The yellow line is only guidance, which shows you roughly where the centre of your tyres should go.
So yeah, the rule only states that you have to be within your grid position. So the penalties that we've seen in the previous races, the driver has been outside of that box, to the right or to the left. I think Ocon and Alonso were, but yeah, as long as you are on or within the white lines, it doesn't matter if you're a little bit further forward.
I mean, it surprised me that there's no actual standard size for grid boxes.
Yeah, you get what you're given, I think.
Yeah, they're different at every track. I mean, for something that is so, I don't know, rule.
Yeah,
constricted.
I was surprised. I was surprised when I was looking that rule up that it wasn't more specific than just you've got to be within your position.
Yeah, we just don't know how big the position is. And the Giovinazzi.
Just quickly on the grid box thing, like as far as people like the newfound fascination with maybe people go like over, like you have the engineers sort of sit on the on the side waiting to see if they need to run back anyway, if somebody stalls on the grid.
Yeah.
Is there not a system we could work in where you have a representative person?
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a person from each team, from where that grid box is. So and like a cone or something. I'm sure you could think of something much more Formula One than that. Just have a fucking cone at the front. So the second your car bops its nose on the cone, your man just runs out, grabs the car, and disappears.
Or big lollipop.
Yeah,
they can do it from the side of the grid. Big lollipop, get your bloke in place, take your lollipop away.
Now, that would work for too far forward, but would it work for left or right? That is the question.
Well, yes, because you should have the lollipop central, so the driver would then have some...
Yeah, but you do get a lot of drivers pulling into the grid boxes at a slight angle.
Yeah, but if they've got a thing in the middle saying this is the centre, all they've got to do is get their eyes in line with the lollipop, and they're in the middle.
Yeah.
If they come into the right of the lollipop, then they know they've fucked it.
You can even just put a rule there, like 90% of the car has to be within the box.
How about make a standardised size for the box?
Standard size of box would be a good start. Because you've got the car is the same size at every race.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I've never known it be an issue before. There's been a couple of times where people have been sort of out of position or something, and that's happened, but it's never made such noise.
I think it's something they've consciously decided they're cracking down on. So I think things like the Ocon one, I think you would see in the past, like, oh, he's to the left, he's not too far forward, it's fine. Whereas for reasons they've decided they're hot on that this year.
They can't even work out what parts of the track a car's allowed to leave all four wheels past the white line. How about we work that out first? How about we work out that cars should stay on the track throughout the entirety of the race?
Very controversial.
Well, if that's too complicated, what the hell are you going to do about them where they're standing still?
I know. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's someone in there said, look, what the thing is, we're tackling something that's difficult because the cars are moving. If we start at trying to keep them within the white lines where the car's still, then we'll move up to trying to keep them in the white lines when the car's moving.
Nah, too complicated. And just the one last one from Wings, which we all agree with, the Giovinazzi Participation Award, Valtteri Bottas, which we'd already called that anyway.
I am here for Rockstars and Wankers being such an audience participatory thing. Like, I can't remember a time we've had so many like write-ins for like the Rockstars and Wankers to where it's felt like its own section, proper section.
well, I think it should. I think it should be a community thing.
It is, and
Yeah.
we've definitely got the community doing it. I mean, there's a lot of people. If you want to send in Rockstars and Wankers, join our Discord server. There's the chat on there during the race and obviously after the race because he sent this at 20.
Might even be
7
worth
last
throwing a
night.
tweet up. Might even be worth throwing a tweet up for this.
Yeah, I will do something along those lines with an invite to the Discord server. One other thing I may throw a tweet up for as well is if you want to help us out, you can subscribe to our Patreon, which will get you the show early. On weeks where we have advertisers, you get it completely ad free, and when we've got time, not when we're doing a 2-hour show that got delayed because Lee was finishing off watching WrestleMania with Shunt Jr.
Yeah.
We'll let you have that one. It was a 2-night thing. We do extra shows. I think next week we'll do what is normally a sort of Patreon-esque show for everyone.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a great deal of F1 to talk about with a 4-week break.
Now
You've cursed it now.
Yeah.
Cursed it now.
So
return of Rosberg, Hamilton retires, Maldonado gets a seat.
Fucking hell.
So we'll fit the there'll be all the tangents next week as well as F1. So just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels. And if you want to get in touch, email 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, at 3legs4wheels on the socials, and individually on Twitter we are
At Sean Cowper.
Must see audio.
at Pablo100 and Chris is at Flood21. Right, we will be back next week with something.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there will be something. And until then, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.